Hey guys, welcome back. Andrew here with Ambient Endeavors, and today we're taking a look at a brand new tube-powered preamp pedal from Tubesteader. It's the third preamp we've covered from Tubesteader on the channel here. It's the new ROY, and ROY captures the magic and the top boosted textures and sounds from AC style amps from England, and I'm really excited to dive into this one as it's kind of one of my favorite styles and circuits of amps, and talk a little bit about Tubesteader, talk about this pedal, and then show some sounds later on. We jumped right in with the intro sketch. We kind of did the don't bore us, get to the chorus model, and you heard the power and the texture that this type of pedal can offer, thanks in large part to the inclusion of a real tube running at 260 plus volts, as it should be. One of the really cool aspects of these tube-powered preamp pedals from Tubesteader is you get that rich warmth, that dynamic, that texture, that feel of a real tube in the midst of your digital rigs, and you really can see and feel and hear how that shines through with the big chorus from the intro track. And then moving on through the outro of that brief little sketch, we have the dynamics you get as you kind of pull back in your playing. It still allows that tube-like response in your signal chain to let your notes bloom and shine through. Sometimes in digital rigs, you still get that kind of all or nothing feel. You have the kind of ones and zeros type response where if you pull back, you lose a lot of the definition, a lot of the clarity, and a lot of the dynamics of the sound. When you have that tube power and that tube element in your signal chain there, you really can retain that playing dynamics and still get those sparkly, present and articulate sounds even when you're pulling back and reining in your playing. So I love that aspect of these tube-powered preamps. I love the aspect in ROY here that you get that rich, full, saturated tone when you crank up the gain for big choruses and lead sounds, and then also as you lighten up your pick attack or dial some of the controls back, you get the retained clarity and dynamics and complexity to the tone that the tubes offer. Beyond that, there's not a lot of note that differs from some of the other compact tube preamps that Tubesteader has released. You have just that, a really nice compact, streamlined interface here and footprint. I'm pretty amazed that they can fit everything into this small, pretty standard pedal size enclosure here, including the tube and a bunch of knobs and a couple foot switches here. So we're going to go over the control set and talk about the ways you can utilize ROY and the other Tubesteader preamps, and then show some sounds later on. So up top here, caged with a nice little bracket, you've got that 12AX7 running at a proper 260 plus volts internally to give you that real true tube compression, the tube saturation, the tube element of dynamics and texture there. You have with ROY essentially two identical channels, and you can set the gain and the volume to each channel to kind of offer you an A or B type scenario. You have a foot switch down here on the left to alternate between the two channels along with your bypass switch, and that gives you a lot of versatility on the fly, whether you're using this as just sort of a dual channel overdrive, whether you're using it as an amp solution to offer a clean and dirty option. It's a really great way that they've laid it out to give you that versatility and that duality there. You have in the center a shared EQ section with bass and treble, and like those old Vox amps, you get sort of an interesting kind of manipulation of the mid frequencies as you adjust both bass and treble, so you'll kind of notice that interaction as we go along here. And then the final thing up top here is a tone cut control, a dial on the top side of the pedal, and as you dial that clockwise as you're looking at it here, it will cut the high end or sort of round out that top end of the frequency spectrum. So you can leave it wide open here and get that brightness and presence that the top boost circuits are known for, or you can kind of use it to dial off some of that brightness if you want a little bit warmer, a little bit rounder of a sound. Many of these pedals take unique power supplies that are included with the pedal, so you want to make sure you use those. They're running at 12 volts and take a little bit higher milliamp current draw. So utilizing that 12 volt power supply will help the pedal run as intended. So that's the ROY. You heard it in the intro sketch. as my amp solution running into a UAFX Stomp to give cabinet simulation and such. It's a really cool use case for that, and one that I've kind of demonstrated extensively here on the channel with other of the Tubesteader products. So today we're going to do a little bit of a different arrangement for the sound samples. We're going to showcase this as primarily an overdrive or a preamp within your pedal board. So we're going to run it earlier in the chain and just show how it can deliver some clean to overdriven sounds on its own, running into another amp and kind of delivering that Vox style texture and voice. So we're going to run a Benson germanium boost into the Tubesteader ROY, then onto a Boss delay and onto a Nunaber reverb pedal before we go into the Supro Montauk behind me here. I'm going to be using a Fender Player 2 Jazzmaster, and we'll check out the sounds from the ROY in some clean and overdriven settings. You can also check out Tubesteader's website. I'll link that in the description below. If you're shopping for the new ROY or want to pick up one of the other Tubesteader preamps, you can hit my online retail shop, Little Box Effects. I'll link that in the description below too. We'll have ROY available along with a few other of the Tubesteader preamps in stock. Let's check out some sounds.
you.